everybody, I'm Alexis, and today I wanted to do a quick video on the cognitive functions and specifically how you can use them for growth. Okay, so in this first video, I'm just going to talk about your dominant and tertiary function. And the reason I'm going to do this is because they actually have something in common, and that is they have the same attitude. And what I mean by the same attitude is that they're either both introverted or they're both extroverted. So I want to do an example. So for example, if you're an ISFJ, your dominant function is introverted sensing, so it's an introverted function. And your tertiary function is introverted thinking, so it's also an introverted function. And this pattern is always the case, so even if you take like the ENFP, for example, their dominant function is extroverted intuition and their tertiary function is extroverted thinking. So in this case, they're both extroverted. So what can tend to happen with these two functions is they get kind of in cahoots with each other and they can create kind of a nice comfort zone for you, or rather a bad comfort zone for you. And one thing that can show up is that for extroverts, they end up creating too much, and there ends up maybe not being value in their life if it's not being balanced by some good introverted time to go back and reflect. And so they're creating, but then there's no meaning to any of it. On the same side of it, there are these introverts are getting too heavy on the consumption side of things, where they're learning, taking in, and then they're not turning that into anything valuable for other people or creating anything out of it. So what's really important with this relationship is to realize that you need to create a balance with creating and consuming, and to not get too much stuck in your comfort zone. So if you're an extrovert, then extroversion is your comfort zone. It's where you feel comfortable. For an introverted, the introverted activities. And there is value in knowing that you're an introvert or that you're an extrovert, so that when you're worn out, you can kind of understand what you can do to recharge that. But at the same time, you don't want to use it as a crutch or become too heavily introverted or too heavily extroverted, or you become really unhealthy and a very unbalanced person. So if you look at your dominant function, this is basically who you are. It's how you would define yourself. It's the heavy hitter of your personality, and it's your greatest strength. And there's a lot of value here. For a lot of people, maybe they didn't realize what their dominant function is. And for a lot of people, when they read descriptions of themselves, it's when they read descriptions that have to do with that dominant function that really feel like, yes, that really resonates with me. I really feel seen. I feel understood. And so that's really what your dominant function gives you. Now, it's such a heavy hitter that if it's an introverted function, you can rely too much on it and you can become very introverted, and then vice versa for extroversion. So this tertiary function, it can eventually become a strength, but unfortunately, I think for most people, it just causes them to stay stuck in a rut and to stay stuck in their comfort zone. So you probably utilize it a lot. I mean, it supports the attitude of the dominant function, and it is used when insecure. It's used in a way to coddle the dominant function. So, sometimes, like as an introvert, for example, maybe your feelings got hurt, you were out in the world, you were dealing with people, and your feelings got hurt. So then you say, no, my feelings are hurt, I feel justified, I'm going to go inward and I'm going to stay introverted. And it gives you this emotional justification, like I'm justified in staying too introverted, or I'm justified in staying too extroverted. I have good intentions. And so it can be very self-protective. And it is kind of like an on and off switch where you're not using it, and then you get these spikes of it where it can become very unhealthy. So it can make you too imbalanced, too extroverted, too introverted. It can make you very opinionated. I've noticed lots of people are very opinionated in their tertiary function. And then basically what it does, the reason for it being there is for it to comfort the dominant function. And, the dominant function is who you are. So, of course, you would want who you are to be comforted. And the problem is where it gets to the point of enabling or coddling, and then it leads you to be stuck in a rut or to be stuck in your comfort zone. So in general, if you don't have the auxiliary and inferior functions to balance it out, if you're stuck in this dominant tertiary function loop, you can see that it just causes you to stay stuck in your comfort zone, to stay very self-oriented and self-serving and not focused on others. And that can be very opinionated and used when insecure or defensive. So you can see why this is what causes the need for what I'll discuss in the next video. It causes a need for you to grow and to get out of your comfort zone. So in the next video, I'm actually going to discuss that. How can I get out of my comfort zone? How can I reach my goals? And I want everyone to know that you are a combination of introverted and extroverted. If we go back and we look at like this slide, your dominant function is one or the other. Your auxiliary function is going to be the opposite. So everyone has some introverted and some extroverted tendencies. And there's a good reason for that. It makes you very balanced and it makes you a very healthy person. The more you get to the far sides of the spectrum, way too extroverted or way too introverted, that's when you run into levels of unhealth. So I do want to validate, I think introverts and extroverts each have their own struggles. Extroverts are constantly feeling too much and introverts are feeling like they're not enough. And what this will give people is a sense of balance. And hopefully you can feel like you're just the right amount, and that you don't have to feel like you're on the defensive all the time, that you can boldly have some tools to step out of your comfort zone and then go ahead and reach your goals to be a more balanced individual. So I'll see you guys in the next video.